I play the game with no timeouts. You ride my wave, you're getting wiped out. Big mistakes get wiped out. I spot you like a lighthouse. Watch your moves like a night owl. On a full moon, wolves gon' howl. Can't bounce back, no rebounds. I show up like me how.
Now we're gonna talk about team construction, right? We're gonna talk about team construction, where I think a lot of fans get confused about certain players on rosters. Team construction, let's go. Team construction, let's go. Right now on this team, we only have 2 centers. Out of all those players we named, we only have 2 centers. Right? I don't even count Ben as a center. He can play center. He's not a center, right? He's not a center. Ben is a point guard, point forward, whatever you want to call him. He's not a center. Claxton, Day'Ron. That's it. That's the only 2 centers still on this team. That is a problem. Will the Nets fix that problem? I don't know. You can play Clowney at center at times if you want to run small ball center. He is not a center. He is a power forward, and maybe, depending on the lineup, he can play small forward. When it comes to building a roster, you got to understand first what the scheme recalls, what the scheme calls for, not recalls, what the scheme calls for. You got to understand what the scheme of the team calls for and what players fit that team. So, right, I'm going to start with Day'Ron and Claxton. 2 similar players. They do certain things differently. Day'Ron's a better rebounder. Claxton is a better perimeter defender. 2 different centers. And you kind of want different players on your team, right? You want different players. So that's a good thing, but you don't have a floor spacing center, right? When you play small ball with Clowney, then possibly you can space the floor with that. But a legit 7-footer space the floor, you don't have that. Or a guy with size 6'10", 6'11", that can guard everyone 1 through 5, or even guard 3 to 5, and space the floor. You don't have that. So that's a dynamic the Brooklyn Nets are missing, right? You're missing a floor spacer at center. Even if you play Ben at center, you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're getting a push the pace guy, but you're not getting a floor spacer. So one problem right there that they should look to resolve, because in this NBA right now, you actually need a floor spacer at the center, especially when you have a Ben Simmons at point guard if he's not shooting, and you have a Claxton or Day'Ron who is not shooting. Somebody's got to space the floor, because that floor is just shrinking the more players don't shoot. The reason why Boston let go of Robert Time Lord Williams is to get a floor spacer, right? Al Horford spaced the floor, and Porzingis spaces the floor. More room to operate, more room for ISO ball, more room for drive and dish and shoot the threes, right? So that right there, that alone causes problems. Ben, Day'Ron, and Nick Claxton. They're good players, nice players, but there's an issue with them on the floor, and it depends on who's on the floor with them. So we're going to talk about that, right? Because now Zaire and Noah Clowney, 6'9", and Trendon Watford, 6'8", right? I'm not talking about veterans. Well, I'm gonna talk about them too. Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith. They all could play the same position, power forward. Zaire could play the 3. Cam Johnson could play the 3. And At times, Trendon Watford could play the 3, but him and No Clowney mostly 4s. And what I like about Zaire is that you, at his height, not at his weight, but at his height, you could play him at the 4 at times, depending on matchups and stuff like that, which is good. And you can play him at 3, right? Create a little bit. That creates a little bit of dynamic. That's what you need. A little bit of dynamic out of those guys. And he is basically the only one that can really create for himself like that at that size. 6'9", right? 6'8". Him, Cam Johnson, same height, I believe. And Trendon Watford is 6'8", but he's not Trendon Watford is not a real shot creator for himself. Not really. He could do it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He tends to go to the floaters. But what I'm talking about in roster construction, right? You need dynamic. You need differences. You need guys that have skill sets, right? Create for yourself skill sets. So I'm going to just name guys that really on this roster that can create a little bit, but not really doing enough dynamically to offset if you have like a Ben Simmons and a Claxton, right? Jalen Wilson, he plays small forward. He can create, but he's not a true creator. He's going to be asked to catch and shoot, and you see that's what he worked on in Summer League, right? Cam Johnson, not a real creator, creates off closeouts. Trendon Watford, not a real creator, create off closeouts or dribble handoffs. Who's next? Dorian Finney-Smith, not a creator, can create off closeouts. You know what I'm saying? But you get the point I'm making. There's only one guy that's truly different, which is Zaire, who they just got from Memphis. So when you have 4 guys like that, you need a Ben Simmons to create, right? Those guys would thrive off Ben Simmons creating. But floor spacing is not going to be the same because you got Nick Claxton. So I'm not saying Ben is the problem. I'm not saying Nick Claxton is the problem because you can always fix it. It's the roster construction. How is the roster made with the players you have? You know what I'm saying? You got to understand your players. What works best for them? What type of player works best for them, right? And what type of player do you need to actually space the floor as much as you can? So you need dynamic. And that's what we're going to get into. We're going to get into dynamics because I ain't even going all the way up to point guard. Y'all get my drift. We got a lot of the same. But I'm going to say, all right, shooting guard. And we go shooting Cam Thomas and Shake Milton. At guard, I'm going to just say, fine, we go point guard. Fuck it. But I'm going to say scoring guard. This is go scoring guard. Shake Milton, you could possibly play a scoring guard, and Cam Thomas. Right? They got other guys in the G League who can possibly play the 2. KJ Jones and Tyrese Martin. You can play those at the 2, and those 2 guys create. 3 guys. Those 3 guys create for themselves, right? And the Cam is 6'4", the other 2 are 6'6". And talking about Tyrese and KJ Jones, that is a different dynamic because I just listed 4 guys that's damn near the same, right? Got all things that they do differently, but they're like the same. KJ Jones, Tyrese Martin, they create for themselves. They can create for others. So that's a different dynamic. And that's what I'm going to talk about. That's what I'm trying to talk about. The dynamics, right? So now you got a different type player in Zaire. You got a different type player in KJ Jones. I don't know if he's going to make the roster or not, but he's different. Tyrese Martin is in the G League, and he's different. So you really, honestly, only got 3 different type of guys, right? We talk about 3, and I just named about 15 players. And you got 3 that's really, I could create for myself and create for others. I could space the floor. I could shoot the 3. You only really got 3, right? Cam Thomas is 4. He could create for himself. He's starting to learn how to create for others. So I'll say 4. I'll just say 4 guys for right now. right? At shooting guard, at scoring guard. So there's 4 guys. That changes the team. When you have guys that can do that, that changes the team, which I don't think most fans understand. It's not the player on the team. It's the scheme, and the players are around that player.